Do you want to know a trick for helping with depression and anxiety? Is knowing what you can control and what you can't control. Because when you focus on the things you can't control, it makes you either anxious or depressed, and it robs you. And because both anxiety and depression rob us of doing the things that are in our control. Because if you're over here going, oh, I'm focused on all this stuff I can't control, that's so scary and it's so big, and you just kind of either collapse or freak out, because depression is kind of collapsing and anxiety is kind of spinning your wheels and freaking out. Both of them tend to wear us out in our physical body. And and we're just missing out on life. When you're over here focused on something you can't control, you're missing life. I mean, what a waste. There are people who would love to be where you are. There's always somebody less fortunate, no matter how freaked out, no matter how scary, no matter how bad your situation is. For the most part, if you're watching this video, you're in a much better situation than a good portion of the world. Not even people in, like, not even a big deal. Like, if you're sitting in a nice, cozy house while you're watching this, you're way better off than a good portion of the planet. So, but you miss the things you can do, and they might be little. But the quickest way to combat both depression and anxiety, because they kind of go hand in hand, we tend to, there's this whole thing with fight, flight, or freeze, right? So the people who get anxiety are the fight or flight people. And the people who get depression tend to be more of the freeze people, or somebody who already had the anxiety and has just worn themselves out. So when we focus on what we can do, it just makes us healthier, saner people. And then we can actually be of help, be of service, because when there's something we can do about a situation, if we're healthy, if we're happy, if we're strong, if we're not broken down because all we've been doing is doom scrolling or watching all this stuff and just completely, in a puddle somewhere, we're no good for anybody. We'll wear ourselves out, break ourselves down. But when you get up in the morning and you can focus, what can I do? I'm not going to focus on this because it's not healthy, it's not helping. What can I do? Okay. And it might even be just simple, ridiculously simple stuff. But those little, simple, ridiculous stuff that will pull us up from that pit of despair. And I feel, since I've been focusing on this almost religiously, this has been something I've had the least amount of anxiety almost my whole entire life. I realized the other day with my anxiety, the time I didn't realize I had anxiety when I was younger because I had severe eating disorders. So how I dealt with my anxiety was eating disorders. So, either starving myself or when I was bulimic, binging and purging. So that kept me from the realization that I had anxiety. And so, again, being aware of, hey, it's not my business. So, whether you believe in God, source, whatever, imagine the things you can't control, handing them up to source, God, whatever the case, whatever you believe in, or, Buddha, whomever, whatever you think is the higher power, the higher source, hand it off to them. This is God's business. I'm just going to use God because it's just generic. This is God's business. This is my business. This is what I can do. And so then this leads to all the things like positive affirmations, things like when we focus on what we can do, we've done that. And then we'll feel better. Little by little, you'll do little tiny things, make little tiny steps. And the drama that's going to play out in the breaking news and all that stuff will go by. And a lot of the times I've noticed in the past, since I've been alive, the drama that plays out and all these, oh, what can happen? What might happen? Generally, for the most part, it's not the worst. And also, even if it is the worst, you've just wasted your whole life going, oh, the worst thing's going to happen, the worst thing's going to happen, and you haven't lived. So again, focus on what you have control over. And then once you have the audacity to focus on what you can control, then you can really start getting into gratitude. So you can be grateful for, like, when you turn on the water to go take a shower, you can be grateful that you have hot running water, unless you're one of those people who like cold showers. I don't even understand you. But you know what I mean? Like, how great is that, that you have safe water for the most part that you can shower in? I mean, there are people who die because they don't have any water. I mean, not focusing on the people dying, but you know what I mean? Like, how amazing is that, that you have water? And, you know, just little things, counting your blessings, because the thing is what do you want to send out into the world? If you're always focusing on what's wrong, all you're doing is sending out more of that energy. There's already the people over there. Let them do that. Focus on what's right, even if it's just little teeny tiny things. You know, I mean, say like your yard's full of weeds. Well, we have some weeds here that are pretty actually. We have these little weeds in our backyard that have these really pretty flowers, these little tiny purple flowers. And so I kind of let them go because, you know, I'm not growing anything in my backyard. So, you know, right now it just kind of looks pretty because I have all these little purple flowers. It's not that spidery looking thing. It's actually like this cute little clovery thing. It's really pretty. And it could even be a flower. Who knows? We get all sorts of stuff here. But so I just look at that and I think how pretty that purple flower is. And, you know, I think how grateful I am to have a yard and I have dogs to play with in my yard and all that sort of thing. So we can be, if you want to be the change you want to see in the world, again, know what's your stuff, what you have control of, and know what you don't have control of, and let go of that. Hand that over. That's not your responsibility. You can't fix it by worrying about it. So focus on what you can and let go of the rest. And I'll see you next time. Peace, love, namaste.